You walk into a car dealership. The salesman does not ask you how much this car will really cost you over the next 10 years. He does not ask you what the total price will be after payments, fees, depreciation, and everything hidden inside the contract. He asks one much simpler question. How much do you want to pay each month? And that is where the trap begins. Because the moment a $30,000 decision gets broken down into $299 a month, it stops feeling dangerous. It stops feeling like a major financial commitment. It starts to feel manageable, affordable, even smart. You are no longer thinking about the real cost. You are not thinking about what this decision will do to your money 5 years from now. You are not thinking about how many times that small payment will repeat. You are only thinking one thing: I can handle this. And that is exactly why monthly payments are so powerful. They do not make expensive things cheaper. They only make expensive things feel smaller. Because in personal finance, the thing that quietly drains people's wealth is not always one huge mistake. Sometimes it is one small payment, repeated for far too long. Jake leases the car. Marcus buys the exact same car. Same dealership, same model, same color, same $30,000 price tag. But the moment they sit down at the finance desk, the story changes. Jake only has to pay $299 a month. Marcus has to pay more than $500. And instantly, it feels like Jake made the smarter decision. His payment is lower. His budget feels lighter. He keeps more money in his checking account every month. He drives away in a brand new car without feeling like he just took on a major financial burden. From the outside, it looks like an easy win. And this is exactly why monthly payments are so persuasive. Because human beings naturally compare what they feel today, not what they will experience years from now. Jake feels relief. Marcus feels pressure. Jake feels comfortable. Marcus feels expensive. So everyone assumes Jake must be winning. But there is something important hiding underneath that comparison. A monthly payment only tells you how much money leaves your pocket this month. It does not tell you how much money will leave your pocket over the next 5 years. It does not tell you how much will disappear over the next decade. And it definitely does not tell you what the true lifetime cost of that decision will be. That is where people get into trouble. Because they stop evaluating the price of the car and start evaluating the size of the payment. The focus quietly shifts from cost to affordability. And those are not the same thing. A decision can feel affordable while still being incredibly expensive. A payment can feel small while still costing you a fortune over time. Yet millions of people make financial decisions this way every year. Not just with cars, with houses, with credit cards, with furniture, with phones, with almost everything. They are not buying the asset. They are buying the feeling that they can afford the payment. And sometimes that feeling becomes one of the most expensive purchases they ever make. For the first 3 years, Jake feels like he made the right choice. Every time he gets into the car, it still feels new. The seats are clean, the paint is fresh, the dashboard still has that showroom feeling. And every month, the payment feels predictable. $299. No surprises, no big repair bills, no stressful mechanic visits, no fear that something expensive will suddenly break. If the car has a mechanical problem, he can take it back under warranty. If something feels wrong, it becomes someone else's problem. And psychologically, that feels powerful. Because leasing does not just sell you a car, it sells you comfort. It sells you certainty. It sells you the feeling that your financial life is under control. A fixed payment, a newer vehicle, a cleaner routine, a life that feels easier to manage. And that is why leasing is so attractive in the beginning. It removes friction. It removes uncertainty. It makes an expensive decision feel smooth. But there is one thing Jake is not thinking about. He is not building ownership. He is not slowly turning payments into an asset. He is not moving toward a finish line. He is simply paying for access. access to a car that still belongs to someone else. And when the contract ends, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Jake does not own the car. He either gives it back or signs another contract and starts the cycle again. Marcus has a very different experience. Every month, he pays more than Jake. Not a little more, a lot more. And every time that payment leaves his bank account, it feels painful. Because unlike Jake, Marcus cannot focus on how good the monthly payment looks. He sees the larger number every single month. Then something even more frustrating happens. The moment Marcus drives his brand new car off the dealership lot, it starts losing value. Almost immediately. The car that looked like a $30,000 asset yesterday is suddenly worth less today. A year passes. The value drops again. Another year passes. It drops even more. And for a while, Marcus finds himself in a situation that feels completely backward. He owes the bank more money than the car is actually worth. Psychologically, that feels terrible. Every payment feels like it disappears into a hole. Every statement reminds him how much he still owes. Every valuation reminds him how much the car has already lost. When Marcus compares himself to Jake, it is easy to feel like he made the wrong decision. Jake has the lower payment. Jake has the newer feeling car. Jake seems more comfortable. And in the short term, Marcus looks like the loser. But there is one thing Marcus has that Jake does not: a finish line. Every payment Marcus makes moves him one step closer to ownership. One step closer to holding the title in his own hands. One step closer to driving a car with no monthly payment attached to it. The progress feels slow, sometimes painfully slow, but it is still progress. Because every month Marcus pays, he is buying a larger piece of the car. Meanwhile, every month Jake pays, he is simply getting 1 month closer to returning the keys. One path leads toward ownership. The other leads back to the beginning. One person is slowly climbing a staircase. The other is running on a treadmill. And from a distance, both can look like movement. But only one of them is actually getting closer to the destination. There is another reason leasing often looks cheaper than it really is. Many of the costs are invisible at the beginning, and invisible costs are dangerous because people cannot worry about things they cannot see. When Jake signs the lease, all he sees is the number sitting in front of him, $299 a month. That number feels simple, clean, predictable. But hidden behind that number is an entire list of conditions that most people barely think about. There are mileage limits, there are excess mileage fees, there are wear and tear charges, there are disposition fees when the vehicle is returned. There are penalties if life changes and you need to exit the lease early. None of those costs are sitting on the front page of the deal. The monthly payment gets the spotlight. Everything else stays in the background. And that is exactly why so many people underestimate the true cost. Because the expensive part of the story is often delayed. A small scratch on the door, a dent from a crowded parking lot, a stain on the seat, a few thousand extra miles driven during a busy year. Individually, none of these things feel important. Most people barely think about them when they happen. But leases have a way of remembering. And when the contract ends, those small details suddenly become large invoices. The surprise is not that the fees exist. The surprise is how quickly they add up. This is the psychological advantage of leasing companies. They show you the attractive number today and postpone the uncomfortable numbers until later. By the time those costs appear, the decision has already been made. The contract has already been signed. The car has already been driven. And your options are far more limited than they were on day one. That is why the $299 payment can be misleading. Not because it is fake, but because it is only the most attractive chapter of the story. The rest of the story usually arrives at the very end, when there is nothing left to negotiate and nowhere left to hide from the bill. After 3 years, Jake may still look like the winner. He has had the newer car, he has had the lower payment, he has avoided the stress of ownership, and from the outside, it still looks like he made the cleaner decision. But after 6 years, the story begins to shift. Jake is no longer on his first lease. He has already returned one car, signed another contract, paid another down payment, started another cycle. The car changed, the payment did not. And that is the part most people miss. Leasing gives you a new vehicle again and again, but it also gives you a new payment again and again. At the end of each cycle, Jake gets a fresh set of keys, but he does not get an asset. He does not get a title. He does not get a finish line. He gets another beginning. Marcus looks very different. His car is older now. It does not shine like it did on the first day. The paint may have a few marks. The seats may show some wear. And yes, he may have to pay for maintenance. Maybe tires, maybe brakes, maybe repairs he did not enjoy. But there is one major difference. The car is his. The loan is gone. The monthly payment is gone. And even though the car is older, it still has value. It can still take him to work. It can still serve his life. It can still be sold if he needs the money. This is when the math finally reveals itself. The person who looked like he was saving money in the beginning may have been paying more all along, and the person who looked expensive at first may have been slowly buying freedom. Because over 10 years, the real question is not who had the lower payment. The real question is who still owns something when the payments stop. Leasing is not always bad, and buying is not always good. That is not the real lesson. There are situations where leasing can make sense. If the car is used for business, the numbers may change. If the car is a luxury vehicle with extremely expensive repairs, staying inside the warranty window may have real value. And if someone truly takes the money they save each month and invests it consistently, the outcome can look different. But for most people, that is not what happens. Most people do not invest the difference. They spend it. Most people do not calculate the full cost. They only look at the monthly payment, and that is the trap. Because the dealership wants you to ask one question: how much do I have to pay each month? But a financially smarter person asks a very different question. What will this actually cost me after 5 years? What will this actually cost me after 10 years? What will I own when the payments stop? Because in personal finance, the most important number is not the payment that feels easy today. It is the total cost waiting for you at the end. That is the number that tells the truth.